Synth TV.
Hey everybody, Synth TV! And today we are exploring the Korg modwave synthesizer. This is a two-part series. In the first installment, we will look at the wavetable oscillators, filters, modulation, and Kaoss Physics. Please do subscribe to this channel to be alerted when part 2 is released. In 1985, Korg released the DW8000 synthesizer. It combined a new wavetable oscillator with 16 waveforms, called the Digital Waveform Generator System, with an analog resonant filter and VCA. It was something different from the classic analog synthesizers that came before it, as well as from the Yamaha FM instruments that were dominant at the time. Indeed, it's different enough that I was casually looking for an EX8000 module at about the time that Korg announced a brand new wavetable synthesizer, the modwave, that took inspiration from the DW8000. The modwave expands the architecture of the original with a large and extensible library of wavetables, multiple filter models, and myriad modulation options, including the new Kaoss Physics pad. It has a very inviting and immediately playable quality. Let's try out a few of the factory presets now. We're now going to take a deeper look at the architecture of the modwave. Each of the presets we played is what's called a performance, which combines two layers, master and reverb EQ, Kaoss Physics, and more. Each layer in turn combines a program with key and velocity zones. The program contains the voice and effects, and finally a voice contains the two wavetable oscillators, a sub and noise oscillator, the filter, amplifier, and modulation sources. This is a fairly deep architecture, but fortunately we can access most elements of a voice directly from the front panel. Let's start with an initialized performance and look at how to create our own voices, starting with the wavetable oscillators. Let's turn down the level of oscillator 2 and focus on oscillator 1. We can select a mode, either a single wavetable A, a blending of two wavetables A and B, or sample mode. Let's set it to A for now. We can now select a wavetable. There are over 200 factory wavetables to choose from. Each contains several waveforms of 2048 samples each. Let's audition a few of these. You can sweep through the various waveforms in a table using the position knob, as we are here with a table featuring the basic sawtooth, triangle, square, and sine waves. Now, position is always on a 0 to 100 scale, although different wavetables have different numbers of waveforms. Let's take a look at this wavetable that includes all 16 original waves from the DW8000. Now, in addition to the basic tables themselves, there are several modifiers which we can use to get even more variety from the sounds. For example, we can preserve just the odd harmonics. We can skip every third harmonic. We can use only the partials that correspond to organ drawbars, really a whole rich topic unto itself. There's a vintage 8-bit mode, and several more. Now, although we have already generated a lot of different sounds, they can be a bit static. We can create dynamically evolving sounds by modulating the waveform position. Each oscillator has a dedicated envelope for this. Let's bring up oscillator 1's envelope. We can use Shift and this knob to control the envelope intensity. And we can use the other controls to shape the envelope as we like. We can also make it velocity sensitive, with more waveform modulation at higher velocity. We can use additional modulators as well. By pressing Mod and the right button, we can assign a modulator. First, we turn the position knob to set it as the destination. Now I can use one of these red mod knobs as the source. This provides a dynamic offset for the waveform sweep that we can combine with the envelope and velocity. But there are even more tools for shaping the wavetables. Let's return to the initial performance, select a wavetable for oscillator 1, and bring up the morph parameter. This allows us to distort the waveform in a variety of ways in real time. Right now, we are in stretch mode. Let's go to flip mode, which inverts the polarity of a waveform at the morph point. There is also a sync function for a classic analog-style sync against a simple oscillator, whose frequency is controlled by the morph parameter. There is also a windowed version of the sync with less aliasing. Like position, morph can be controlled in real time. Let's return to the flip morph and assign it to the mod wheel. There is also a dedicated LFO for the morph parameter. Select oscillator 1 from the LFO section and increase its intensity to modulate the morph parameter. Let's keep the LFO frequency low and try out this window narrowed stretch morph, which combines several different functions at once. Now we can also use oscillator 1 to morph oscillator 2 via ring modulation, AM or FM. Let's reset the performance again. We'll keep a simple wavetable on oscillator 1, and now bring up another wavetable on oscillator 2. I kinda like that chaotic one. If we go to oscillator 2's morph parameter, we see a couple more morph types. Let's try ring modulation. It works best if we change the tuning of oscillator 1, either harmonically or inharmonically. Let's switch to FM. The combination of frequency modulation and wavetable position produces some really rich dynamic timbres. This is a good time to bring in Kaoss Physics. This extends the classic Kaoss pad control with a variety of new motions. If we go back to the performance screen, you can see this little bouncy ball moving around the grid. We can use the pad to position it, but then it keeps on moving from there. We can use the X and Y coordinates of the ball to modulate various synthesis parameters. Let's assign oscillator 2 morph, the FM amount, to the Y coordinate. And oscillator 1 position to the X coordinate. We can move the position manually from the pad, and we can also give the ball a little push to set the physics in motion. Now we can look a little more closely at what is happening in Kaoss physics. We can think of it as a ball rolling up or down a hill, with gravity, friction, and other forces acting on it. We could change the elevation of the hill. Let's set it higher. We can see how the ball seems to roll off and then bounce to the sides of the grid, never rolling back up to the center. We can also set a negative elevation to create a dip. In this case, the ball rolls down into the dip. Or rather, it would if I hadn't already tilted the whole plane to the right. Let's fix that. Now we can see the ball roll into the center. Let's give it a good push. We can change the edge behavior so the ball wraps around instead of bouncing. I like it better bouncing. We can also get some more crazy behaviors by adjusting the friction and gravity parameters. Fortunately, the modwave comes with several presets for Kaoss physics. Let's try out a few of those now. This is a fun one because the position of the ball changes along with the hill, creating an interesting dynamic system. Okay, let's go back to the initial performance once again. Now, so far we have been assigning a single wavetable per oscillator, but we can combine two wavetables on a single oscillator using AB mode. Let's set oscillator 1 to AB and use the DW waveforms for wavetable A and that chaotique for wavetable B. We blend the two waveforms using the AB blend parameter to create a hybrid sound. We can still change the position, which affects both wavetables simultaneously. Now, of course, we can modulate the AB blend. Let's use the pitch LFO for this, since I really don't use it for much of anything else. Crank the modulation amount way up. Just for kicks, let's use the Kaoss X coordinate to control the position. Come on, there we go. Let's set oscillator 2 to AB mode as well, and select two different wavetables. Let's find a nice blend. We can select FM morph on oscillator 2. This really brings out the AB modulation. Let's use the first modulation knob to control the FM amount. Now, a cool little trick we can do is use the same knob with a negative amount to control the level of oscillator 1, so that we hear oscillator 1 when FM is down, but then just as a modulator when FM is up. This is a good time to introduce the filter section. It contains models of some of the famous Korg filters, including the Poly 6 and MS-20, along with a multi-mode filter and more. Let's bring up the MS-20 filter. Now, the resonance of this filter is legendary, so let's crank it up. Now let's use the Kaoss Y coordinate to control the filter frequency. You can really hear how both the wavetable timbres and the filter interact when modulated with the Kaoss Physics. Now, I kind of like this. It's fun and weird, so let's save it. We can save the whole performance. Let's do that now. We can switch to this screen to give it a name. It's a bit clunky to scroll through the characters, but it gets the job done. And because we started from a factory preset, we'll press Shift right to save to a new location. There we go, a nice new performance preset. But we can also save individual voices, that is the oscillators, filter, and modulations, as a program. Let's save what we've been working on as a program now. Now the cool thing is that there are already a lot of factory programs that you can select to add to either layer A or B of your performance. Right now we have just been working with layer A. Let's turn on layer B, which has the default program loaded. Let's turn off layer A for the moment and find a nice contrasting program to set in layer B. Maybe one of these dark things. Now let's double-click layer A to bring that back in. Now recall that Kaoss Physics is part of the performance, not the program. So we can mix and match a lot of different behaviors at once by combining programs and Kaoss Physics in the performance. Let's bring up one of the Kaoss Physics presets now and see what happens. We hope that you've enjoyed this look at the wavetables and other features of the modwave, but there's still a lot more that this instrument can do. In part 2, we'll look at the sample mode, the wave sequencers, and effects, so please subscribe and stay tuned for that. To find out more about the modwave, please visit Korg's website and check out the description below this video. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to CatSynth TV.